everybody out there on the internet. This is episode 12 of Let's Talk Weekly. And today I'm going to be joined by the original host, David Fitz. I, of course, am Leonard Flanoy, aka DJ Raymay. And we're going to be talking about, little things in geekdom like comic book movies, superhero castings, things like that. So, we'll see. Hold on. Looks like we got somebody at the door here. Oh, hey, it's David.
Hey, what are you doing my job? Doing the intro?
Well, I thought since I am the new host and everything, I might as well go ahead and start exercising my rights as the host and answering my calls of duty.
Remember, he's a co-host, ladies and gentlemen. But since you've already started, I'll let you finish. Later, guys.
Later.
Welcome to the Let's Talk Weekly podcast.
So, hey, and we're back for the Let's Talk Weekly podcast, episode 12. This is Leonard Flanoy, a.k.a. DJ Raymay, and I'm here with co-host
David
Fitz. And today we're going to be talking about a couple of things that we found out today.
This found today, January 31st, 2014, that Jesse Eisenberg has been cast as Lex Luthor and Jeremy Irons has been cast as Alfred Pennyworth.
Yes, Jeremy Irons as Alfred Pennyworth and Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. That's right, Mark Zuckerberg is going to be Lex Luthor for the new Man of Steel sequel. How do you feel about that?
My first impression is cool. I don't really have a way of anything against it. I'm just going to take the road of, I'll judge it when it happens, but I think a younger Lex Luthor, it can happen. I mean, we had Smallville on for 10 seasons and we saw him grow up, so maybe they could be pulling from that angle.
Yeah, but even in Smallville, he was still older. He was still considerably older than Clark. Because, while Clark was still, a ninth grader in high school, he was of drinking age.
That's true. At
that point, in there. So, he was at least 21, unless, of course, he was drinking before 21, which, he's a billionaire. I'm pretty sure not many people cared if he was doing that or not. But, yeah, it's just kind of weird, it's zombie land, just Lex Luthor. Because I wonder if we're going to get, a list of ways to kill Superman. I wonder if there's a double tap for Superman.
Yeah, my first theory is a young Lex Luthor. This could be Alexander Luthor, who becomes Connor Kent, Superboy. They could, flip the script on us.
Well, how do you feel about Jesse Eisenberg being Superboy, if that's the case?
You can see it.
You can see him? You can see him being Superboy? Okay.
Being a fan of, young Justice and seeing how Superboy is in that, I could see Jesse Eisenberg going that route.
I could see him working out for that role.
So, Warner Brothers does a good job, just like Marvel, of hiding their secrets of
You're right.
Pulling the twist out.
You're right.
So, but what about your pick for Alfred Pennyworth?
Jeremy Irons. Remind me, Jeremy Irons. What Jeremy Irons plays in? What is he playing?
I'll throw that to you. I can't think of anything. Nothing against the character, but I can't think of his name.
Jeremy Irons. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on what Jeremy Irons plays in.
Yeah.
But
we'll have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah, we'll have to get back to you on that one.
Or y'all let us know in the comments.
Yeah, just let us know in the comments. About what you think about Jeremy Irons. I wish I could give a little bit more guess, but we'll look it up. As it progresses and talk about it a little bit more. Unless you got the internet up right now. In the meantime, we can talk a little bit about superhero castings, weird castings. I was just reading an article a couple of days ago where they were talking about superhero costume designs and things like that, where there were movies that were awesome movies, superhero movies that may not have had a great costume, or good or bad superhero movies that had terrible costumes, bad superhero movies that had great costumes, and then good superhero movies and good costumes. I always look back at Amazing Spider-Man. A lot of people criticized when they saw the new outfit that Spider-Man was going to be wearing in the movie. Mind you, it was more realistic as being something that was homemade, but it still was kind of silly looking, which a lot of people had issues with. I like when they make the outfits more practical, but from time to time it can be a little off-putting, especially when you're expecting something, like in X-Men, with the whole black leather fiasco. When you're expecting, the iconic, yellow, black, and blue for Wolverine, and the blue and yellow and red for Cyclops, and all of those different outfits. So, it's just kind of weird. What do you think, David, about...
I think, first let me come back to you. I looked up his movies. Mm-hmm. He's been in The Lion King, Margin Call, Beautiful Creatures.
Jeremy Irons played Scar.
Yes, that's right. He's in Aragon in 2006, Lolita 1997, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
He was the bad guy in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes.
Oh man. So we're gonna have an Alfred that's probably just as awesome as having the Alfred from the Christopher Nolan trilogy, Michael Caine.
Right, and I feel like they might go with the storyline of Alfred, who is the FBI agent Alfred.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Zack Snyder kind of going with that kind of Alfred. I can't see that many people not being total awesome, just creatures of excellence from this Zack Snyder film. I just feel like we're going to see Alfred throwing a couple punches here and there.
Right.
Yeah.
But back to your question. So back to your question. The outfits. I was listening to a podcast with Kevin Feige of Marvel, mm-hmm. who talked about the costumes in the X-Men movies, where he said, they had that little joke in the first X-Men movie of what were you expecting? Yellow spandex? And okay, so they acknowledge it, mm-hmm. But I think with a lot of things you have to think about what may be good on paper and the comic books and graphic novels may not translate well on screen.
And then sometimes it also just means that whoever was in charge of the direction or the costume designs and things like that may not have been able to figure out how to make it work yet.
Right.
Because you got situations like in the Wolverine, the alternate ending that's on the DVDs and Blu-rays, you actually get to see the yellow and black Wolverine outfit in the alternate ending. He opens up a little little suitcase, and lo and behold, is the Wolverine outfit.
Wow.
And then you've got Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is going more towards the Ultimate Spider-Man look for Peter Parker with the giant white eyes. We've had the white eyes in the Sam Raimi trilogy of the Spider-Man series, but they've never quite been as animated looking as they have been, or as they're going to look in Amazing Spider-Man 2. So it seems like they've kind of finally figured out how to make it work, wherein before they didn't know how to do it.
Because the one character that I can think of that I was hoping to see like a sort of direct port was Hawkeye in Avengers. Like, I kind of want to see the mask, but seeing how they did it, I kind of liked it, with the sunglasses.
Yeah,
but I think in that case, like, okay, maybe the mask wouldn't have worked for him as well as it worked for Captain America.
Yeah, and Captain America. I mean, I just thought that was a great outfit, that choice that they did with him in the Avengers. It was just incredible.
Do you think that with this new Batman, though, that we'll get the white eyes in the cowl?
Maybe. We're talking about Zack Snyder here, so I wouldn't put it past him. But I think that if he puts it in there, it's going to have some kind of usage for them to turn white. Like, they're not just going to turn white.
Because it could
be white.
Like detective mode in the Arkham games.
Yeah, and it would be nice to see a nice nod to something like that in the movie. I could see Batman being able to go into that kind of mode. I mean, to be honest, people give him these godlike abilities, but there's certain things that are realistic for him, like the whole detective mode and things like that, which is why I'm glad that they did have it in the Arkham games. So it would be nice to see like a little nod to that in the movies.
Speaking of Zack Snyder, I will go ahead and say I really enjoyed Sucker Punch. I don't care what the internet says. I thought the story was really well put together. And I got it, and now we can continue.
Well, yeah, the Zack Snyder's awesome. I mean, I've been a fan of his, or at least I like a lot of his movies that he's made. He's very brutal when it comes to like his action, and he's very in your face with his directing style. Like, he's not afraid to have certain things just forcing you to look at certain things that you may or may not be uncomfortable with, or to see certain types of action kind of like become a main point for his movies that you may not see or may not be comfortable with in his movies. I loved Watchmen. I thought that was, the way he did it was just incredible. And then Man of Steel, I mean, it's just this excellent movie. And so, I definitely have a ton of respect for Zack Snyder.
And I feel like, with this extension to 2016, that it will get more time, and maybe more time that it deserves to be put together. And maybe the rumor, let's just address it, that this could be filming Justice League and this back to back. I think by doing that, you can get all your actors together and keep them together, and it can all run smoothly instead of trying to rush everything in 2015 for the follow up.
Yeah, you don't want to churn out sequels like too fast. I mean, give people enough time to really understand your previous movie before you put out the sequel. You don't want to flood them with different movies and things like that without giving them time to kind of digest, if you will, for those things. I mean, that's kind of the problem with making movies that are based off of something like your Harry Potters and your Lord of the Rings, which, you know, we've only had like 3 of those. You know, when they come so quickly, it just sometimes it can be an issue. I mean, sometimes it's nice, you know, like when you got like the Matrix movies. Like I was pretty happy to see those come out like back to back, but
right.
yeah, especially after like waiting 4 years in between the first and second. But you know, not every movie, you know, kind of has that feel where it's worth it to watch them, go to the movies back and back to see.
And I'll say, you know, like when it comes to like, you know, like the Hobbit movies, you know, people are giving them a lot of flack and stuff, and I can understand where they're coming from, but being that, you know, I've never read the Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, and I want to read those one day. But from my standpoint of, you know, following the Peter Jackson trilogy and the world he set up on screen, I feel like the Hobbit movies were done beautifully and, you know, perfectly. Yeah, I mean that's just from my standpoint. I know people who don't like it, or I've heard them they don't really like it, but you cannot deny that the stories are great. But I do understand, you know, with these direct translations, things are going to be missed. I mean, as much as I love the Harry Potter series, and you know, I will admit I've never finished reading all the books, but you know, I read 4.5 straight through. You know, the 4th movie I was looking forward to. You know, when they had the maze scene in the tournament, and in the book they mentioned that Harry runs into a Sphinx.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm, you know, waiting for the Sphinx. And finally, I'm like, okay, great. We're about to have the maze in the Twilight tournament, and then the maze is completely different from what J.K. Rowling set up. So I mean, you know, but from someone who maybe never read them and just saw the movies for what they were, he said, you know, this was great. But as I understand, as people who read books, you know, we can be picky. And that's why maybe movies, you know, like a movie in the series, you know, we'll get, we know what we're seeing nowadays of, okay, say it's like a four-part series. The first 3 movies are very long, you know, they're about 3 hours, the entire book. But the 4th book is going to be a 2-part movie. And I understand why that's being done, but do you think all the movies in the series should get the same treatment, or do you think Hollywood's approaching it sort of carefully?
I don't feel like we should be making like, you know, throwaway movies unless we've, you know, tried our best to make it and it just came out that way. I feel like people who, you know, are really hard on like the comics, you know, based movies, the book based movies, the TV show based movies, things like that, they just, they've forgotten a lot about how to give things a shot.
Yeah.
You know, before you condemn it for whatever reason. I mean, it just, you know, it can kind of suck, you know, when you're trying to. It can suck when you're trying to, you know, really enjoy something and someone's just poking holes in the roof, poking fun.
True. I mean, and I've said this numerous of times that Man of Steel is my favorite movie of 2013. But as soon as I say that, people are knocking on my door and saying, "What's wrong with you?" Or the comment that the first comment will say, and I'm like, you know, I appreciate your comments, but I said it was my favorite movie. Don't try to tell me why I shouldn't like it. I mean, but I understand people could tell me I should stop telling them to give stuff a chance. So I can see it's a two-way street on that one. But, you know, when did we lose sight of the enjoyment factor of things, and now we're spending too much time trying to criticize stuff?
You're right. Yeah. As soon as something comes out, they're like, "Oh, it's crap. Oh, I'm never going to see this." Yeah, like that's happening right now with the whole Ninja Turtles thing. Right now with the whole Michael Bay produced Ninja Turtles movie. They released the pics a couple days ago, and everybody's been on edge, including the diehard Turtles fans, who've been reading the comics since like 1987, and and it's polarized the entire community. I mean, there's people who can't wait to see them in action, and people who never want to see them in action. And at least with the new Turtle, I mean, because I have seen it. At least with the new Turtles, the timing is right for a new one. We've had like 7 years or so since TMNT came out.
Because I mean, you had the brand new series. I mean, I do like that Rob Paulson's back, doing another voice. He did Raphael first. Now he's doing Donatello. So I mean, I think with the generations, he's one person that can bridge the generations together. I don't know about people who've just read the comics and never watched the cartoons or never saw any of the movies before this one. But I think we need to get to a point of, okay, this movie's coming out. Let's not bash it, because one thing I've noticed is that as soon as someone says I hate it, everybody else will say I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I enjoy social media and I know the career field I'm interested in, sometimes, let's say, with everybody having a voice, it can be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think of that?
Yeah, because sometimes, like, when someone's a little too vocal, they can kind of ruin the the excitement for a movie. And you try as a big fan of things to not let that get to you, but unfortunately it does anyway. I mean, someone just breaking down and picking at every single piece of what's wrong with the trailer, or what's wrong with the first 10 minutes of a movie or TV show, or things like that. And it's just like, some people find that laughable, some people find that funny, but sometimes you just want to enjoy, and that's not that, it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
It shouldn't.
But, unfortunately, people do make it such.
I mean, when it comes to Man of Steel, like, even before I got to see it, someone who had posted a review online said, he did like a YouTube video saying, this is great, but less action is more, and then breaking down each scene. And I'm like, I haven't seen it. I really want to go into the movie theater, or I really want to go into the movie theater saying, I wonder what I'm about to see. I know Zod's the villain. That's all I know. But I'm sitting there watching like, oh, that's what they were talking about. They were talking about that scene right there. And as a fan, I'm like, I tried to really enjoy it as much as I wanted to, and I still enjoyed it. But I really wish, we could just turn our attention away from the YouTubes and Googles of the world.
Yeah, I think the answer is just like when you have something super exciting that's coming out, you just gotta cut off everything. Like when Man of Steel was about to come out, I was just like, I'm not talking to anybody about Man of Steel. I was like, I don't care what anybody thinks. Like, it's a new Superman movie. I'm going to see it, and I'm going to love it. That's basically what I thought. And I did. I honestly believe that Man of Steel is the best Superman movie I've ever seen. Like, no disrespect to Christopher Reeves or anything like that, but I mean, as far as always wanting to see Superman a certain way.
Right.
And the spectacular changes that they made to, and thoughtful changes that they made to the origin story of Superman. It was not only a Superman that you can relate to even further, but a Superman who was understandably novice in, his plight to save the world. And yet, even with all of the destruction that took place, he still somehow came out on top, which, is what heroes are made of. It's like sometimes you'll be in those situations where it seems like you won't be able to succeed. And it's just like in a blink of an eye, somehow you get that strength that you need to finish, and that's what, I feel like Superman kind of stands for, as far as us as a people, we should strive to be like Superman.
True. And, I've talked to some people online who are older. They grew up with Christopher Reeve movies, and like you said, no disrespect to those. I love them in their entirety, but they had their point of view growing up in the 80s, and us growing up in the 90s, we have our point of view.
Yep.
So you have the different generations looking at things. They're going to approach it differently. I was talking to one individual. She said that she just couldn't get behind it. And I was saying, but it kind of reminded me of Smallville. And she's like, I couldn't really watch Smallville either. How come all his villains were living in the town? Like, I couldn't get past the first season. I'm like, you had to try it. But I understand where she's coming from, and I respect it. But with that being said, but let's focus on a different area of the Man of Steel movie. What do you think about the different Easter eggs that they had in there? It was like pointing at like different parts of the DC universe.
Yeah, I caught some of the references with the whole like LexCorp and the Sullivans and all of that stuff that I kind of saw throughout the movie. I didn't catch every single reference, like the apparently there's an Aquaman reference in the movie and some other things, but it'll be nice to see some references towards other superheroes come the next movie, especially with so many that are already going to be there. Batman, Wonder Woman. I heard something about like Green Lantern or somebody's going to be in it.
Either he's going to be in it or maybe this goes on with that rumor of them shooting Justice League right now.
That's crazy.
And shoot, if it's Jon Stewart, I'd be happy to see Jon Stewart.
Yeah, I'm happy. I would be ecstatic to see Jon Stewart, and maybe even like Hawkgirl. Would be pretty nice to. Oh man, definitely Hawkgirl, especially if they're gonna go for kind of Amazonian princess, kind of Wonder Woman, because that's all I can think of when I see Gal Gadot. Is that maybe she's gonna be more princess side of Amazonian princess as opposed to Amazonian princess. Like had they, hired a more like, muscular, woman for the role. No doubt she's going to probably try to bulk up a little bit, but she's still pretty tiny.
Right.
For the role. So, I can kind of envision her kind of being in a dress or something, being really beautiful, maybe getting hit on by Batman or whatever, until you find out that she can throw punches like Superman at some point throughout the movie, which, will be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to look forward to. Seeing Flash, maybe we can get Cyborg one day. Even Martian Manhunter. There's a lot of possibilities, and I'm just waiting to get Darkseid. That's really all I'm waiting for them to go to. And Brainiac, but more so Darkseid. But, we could, discuss movies and comic book movies all day, but we don't want to keep you all that long. So, is there anything else you want to say to the interwebs before we sign off?
Well, I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, just as far as like liking superheroes and things like that. Doesn't matter who you like, doesn't matter who you're a fan of. Just own up to it. You'll start to attract friends that are into those kind of things alongside you, and that's always pretty cool to have like a group of people to be able to go and watch your favorite superhero movies with, or talk comics and things like that. And, if anybody else wants to hate on it, then, let them do it.
I'll be the first to say Superman is my favorite superhero. Not so much for the powers. The powers are awesome, but it's more so the character that he is, the person that he is, his morals, the things that he does for people, not just in a super way, but the way he cares about his fellow person. But with all that being said, we want to thank you all for joining in today on the 12th episode of Let's Talk Weekly podcast. Please share it with your friends. Follow us on Twitter at Let's Talk Weekly. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Let's Talk Weekly. All one word, no underscores, no spaces, no periods. And please check out our website, www.letstalkweekly.wordpress.com. And we'll see you all on the next one.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Have a good one.